Hi guys, I'm Sean. This is Alyssa. Gus is in our hearts, and this is Internet Rabbit Hole Daily. And we are back on a very special day with a very special guest. That's right. It's the 12th of September, which is a very special anniversary. And we've got our friend here to talk all about it. Known as Hawksmere or
Aman.
Aman.
Channel is called Hawksmere.
Yeah, fellow YouTuber, friend of the channel. Maybe let us know what you're all about, my friend.
Hi guys, yeah, lovely to be here on this very special day, which is celebrating, and celebrating is the right word, the Battle of Saragarhi. So I live in the UK. I work in various organisations, and one of them being the Sikh Astronomical Society. I try and be as active as I can on various Sikh groups, including the Sikh groups on Facebook and the British Educational Culture of Sikhs, which my father is the president of.
Oh, wow.
We get involved as much as we can about the educational aspect of Sikhi in the UK.
Awesome. And in addition to all of that, you've got your own, reaction channel, but it's not just reactions. You also pontificate and all sorts of other good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that came about purely by accident. So I started reacting to music because somebody asked me to say, what do you think of this? And I gave him my feedback and he was like, that's really insightful. And I wasn't trying to be pretentious or anything, but he just said, you should record that. And I did it and it kicked off from there. So that was like almost a year ago. And then, as you guys probably know, you get a lot of emails, a lot of questions, and people started asking questions like, why are you always so upbeat? Or how come you're always happy? I'm like, I'm not. This is just what you see. And it got into some interesting dialogue and debates about just about life in general. And not because I have the answers, but if somebody asks you a question, I think you should try and help them and answer it. And I did that, and it just rolled on from there.
Awesome. So
good on you.
Yeah, good variety of content there. We get to see your perspective on music, but also your perspective on life. And so that is a very good thing. And here today, we're going to get your perspective on this battle, your perspective on the film Kesari, which we did a full movie reaction to, by the way, guys. You can check that out. It's in the description.
You're going to clear up some things for us too about the movie.
And so maybe what we might want to start with is just sort of an overview of maybe the battle and sort of why did this even happen?
Yeah, so I mean the battles of Sikhs and in the British Army has been going on right since the Anglo-Sikh Wars, right, where the British invaded the north when the British Empire was in India and invaded north of India. They was resisted by this force, and this force was Sikhs in Punjab. And they realized that, okay, these guys are not like the rest of India where we could just take them over, we can bribe them, and etc. They fought back.
Yeah.
And at that time, the Sikhs had Maharaja Ranjit Singh. They had an entire empire that covered, Pakistan, which was India then, and parts of Afghanistan and Tibet. So slowly it evolved. There were many, many, many wars. There was the Multan attack, the Safine, the Peshwari, the Jammun. So many battles took place. And eventually the Sikhs, as the British thought, these fighters are great. Rather than fight them, let's fight with them.
Yeah. Not a bad way to do things.
Like they sort of allied themselves with...
They did. Sikhs. It was a bit of a Trojan horse in the end. They did the same with the Gurkhas, and today the Gurkhas in Britain are protesting because of what happened with the Gurkhas. They were also fierce warriors that the British thought, we can't beat them, let's join them. And then the downfall of the empire occurred, where Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the Kohinoor, the jewel, was taken, and then Maharaj Ranjit Singh's son, Dalip Singh, apparently volunteered at the age of 9 to leave his kingdom and go to Britain. And
volunteered. I noticed the quotation marks there. And that's a whole nother, exploration we could do one day. Because I know little bits here and there, but certainly I've got a lot of holes in my education, which you could fill. And so it's, they're a warrior people. The British decided, hey, let's get these guys on our side. And that's sort of, I guess, where maybe this Kesari, the movie, starts, because we're talking both about the real life event here, but we're also, I guess, maybe even primarily talking about the movie, some of the differences between what happened, what you see in the movie.
One of my big questions was, I guess we have like a whole order and system here, but like it's coming up now.
Sure.
It's sort of like, okay, in Kesari, the Sikh warriors,
Warriors?
Before we started filming, Sean was like, you're just going to hum and haw and mess up. So now I feel so much more pressure. And you're like,
concise. Get to it.
The men of the army who are
21 Sikh
the 21
soldiers.
Sikh soldiers, are they drafted into the army? It's not their choice. Like they are sent
Are they
to
conscripted?
fight
Are they
for Britain, because Sean was thinking that they were choosing to be in the army. And I was saying, oh, it seems like they definitely are being drafted to fight for the English, kind of like do their dirty work for them, almost fight their battles for them.
No, it's an occupation. They're paid.
Oh.
It's an occupation. There's references to that in Kesari where he says, are you doing this for your monthly salary? So they're absolutely.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he was like I guess also he farms, but I thought it was sort of like he didn't want to be doing that occupation. He didn't want to be there. That's what I gather, but I guess, I was totally wrong.
No, I think the conflict comes when you are paid to do something, but what you are paid to do, the people that are paying you are actually interfering with your personal values and beliefs.
Yeah.
I think that was the conflict.
And also being like racist and stuff and horrible too, like his.
Yeah, basically saying you're slaves, not soldiers. Because remember the Sikhs and the Gurkhas were on a massively lower salary than the British troops.
Oh, right. So there's these like huge
they didn't have a pension.
differences and
so
stuff.
There was a huge,
discriminating.
The Gurkhas are still fighting today. Yeah.
It
was discriminating, but it was also relative because in India the salary was good. In relative to the rest of India, but it was nothing compared to the British. The British always sat on their thrones. They had an expectation of people of India to count me as their Raja, and the Sikhs were like, no, we don't do that. We'll fight because we're soldiers and we'll get paid for it. But then there was that conversion in the movie where they literally ripped off their badges, and it's really interesting because after when they picked up the remnants of the battle, they realized that all of them had ripped off their badges. Yeah. So that reference in the movie is true because they said we're not fighting for British India.
Yeah.
We're fighting for Sikhi. We're fighting because there's a tyrant against us. We're fighting for, the martyrs.
Absolutely. And there was that moment in the film too, of course, where the lead fellow sort of told them it's like that they were being asked to evacuate the fort and that it was, time to leave. And of their own accord, they decided, well, hell no, we're sticking around and we're going to do what we feel is the right thing here. And we're going to fight to the death, because it really was certain death at that point. You've got 10,000 people versus 21. I
thought he had said that wasn't true, though. He just told the soldiers.
Yeah, we found out later that he was sort of, maybe twisting the truth a little bit to, for the betterment of his men, but
to give them more.
Doing it from the right part.
Yeah.
But there are references. This isn't exclusive to Sikhs, as you know. There are references, throughout history. You got the Alamo, where it was a similar thing, last stand against, a force, certain death. You got, as you know, the Hazaris, the empire of the 300 Spartans in 480 BC, and then you've even got William Wallace.
William Wallace
fighting against Longshanks. So. There are many occasions in history, not all of them are recorded, where these few people fight this huge injustice and this onslaught with facing certain death, but they do it, with esteem. They do it with the head held high,
with dignity, with bravery, and like you said, it's not always recorded. And of course, throughout history, sometimes things get sort of, it's like those fishing stories where the fish all of a sudden it was kind of this big, and then all of a sudden it's that big. Whereas in this situation, we actually had 2 other forts that were observing this, and so we have the actual records. Someone was actually observing what was going on and recording this.
Yeah, and Gurmukh Singh, who was the sepoy, the last one to die, he was actually using the heliograph to communicate what was going on. So it's live commentary of what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was recording the names as well, which was true.
Okay, I wondered about that, whether that was for sort of more theatrical purposes or whether it actually happened. So we're already we're digging right into this, and so
should we jump around at all, or should we just stick?
Well, I think that we're talking a little bit about the battle already, but maybe as to sort of why specifically it happened. We've got these sort of Afghan tribes, if you will. They aren't happy with the British being there. At least that's what I'm getting. And so they've decided to band together to take over these 3 forts. Are
the British on the border between?
Yeah. So remember, there's no hard border, and there's no Pakistan. So throughout history, Afghanistan is still in turmoil today, but throughout history, Afghanistan has been raided by the Mughals, the Romans, the Russians, the Americans. So many people have raided it. No one's conquered it.
That's right.
In history, there's only one person that's conquered it, and that's Hari Singh Nalwa, who was a commander in Maharaja Ranjit Singh's army. So the Afghans have built these defending tribes throughout next to Punjab because of the historical battles that happened between the Sikh Empire and Afghans. This is way before the British got them. Yeah. So they were living in harmony, you can say. There was obviously some conflict, but on the 3rd of September and the 8th of September, Gulistan was attacked. It doesn't show that in the movie, but it was attacked twice.
It was one of the other forts. Well, they do show a moment where, for example, Havinder Ishar Singh, or the lead guy, he sort of stops a woman who had been married against her own, against her wishes. He saves her from certain death, ends up killing her husband, and then in revenge, they do attack one of the forts. So I wonder if that was maybe
that storyline, like, is that
or maybe was referencing those 2 battles that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but one thing to mention there is Havildar is not his name.
So
Havildar is actually a ranking in the Indian Army, so it means sergeant.
Havildar.
So it's just Ishar Singh.
I was saying this before we started filming. I saw the full name there, and I was like, well, they only call him Ishar Singh. Why would they use like his middle name? And I don't even know if people in India use middle names, but I was like, so then it makes sense why there's
another thing there. Alyssa, is his actual name wasn't Ishar Singh either. It was
that's for the
Ajay
movie,
Singh.
right?
Oh, can you say that again? Sorry.
It was Ajay Singh. Ajay Singh.
Ajay Singh.
There's
How come they changed the name?
Okay, so this is the reason that one of the things I didn't like about the movie.
Oh, okay.
First of all, there's this thing in the UK where if you're going to get a certain character to play a historical person, you get a person that represents the history, right?
Yeah.
In the movie, Akshay Kumar did a great job, right? They could have got a Sikh to play that part, but they didn't. For reasons I'm not going to, but it didn't. But a lot of the movie was in the Hindi dialect, and the Hindi broken Punjabi. These guys were from around the corner. They're from Lahore. They were from Jalandhar. They were Punjabis. They spoke pure Punjabi. They speak it at home. They didn't speak this Hindi colloquialism. And it wasn't Ishar Singh. It was Ajay Singh. It's a very strong Punjabi name, but they changed it. There's many things that have been changed, and even the plaque on the wall, it was in Punjabi. It wasn't in Hindi. The names, because they were Punjabis. It's just the earth, the area. Punjab was massive then. It was a big province, not a state.
I'm surprised that. Is it just I guess maybe it was just sort of the politics of it all, or just
to maybe to get a wider reach, to sort of appeal to the wider India.
Like who was ever producing this film or who was casting it and what, like they had control of all these different factors, because it's like, oh, there's lots of Punjabi movies, right? I would assume there's
but they
Punjabi
don't
movies.
but they don't blow up like Bollywood films, as I understand
It was
it.
sort
In
of like-
general,
yeah.
Bollywood is a much wider audience, and so perhaps things were sort of
The filmmakers were sort of wanting to cater to that.
they're catering to the wider audience,
I guess, yeah. But still, they could have subtitles.
You could say that. However, just this week, there's remembrance in a place called Jallianwala Bagh, which is right next to Shri Mandir side. Right, it's a remembrance where Sir General Michael Dwyer opened fire on loads of Sikhs, and they all jumped in a well, and they all just died.
Oh wow, geez, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I think it was in 1912 or something.
Oh,
But
wow.
Just this week alone, they've built a memorial there. This is in Shri Mandir side, right in the heart of what Sikhs.
Yeah.
And the memorial's written in Hindi. And the person standing outside is this Indian freedom fighter, whereas it was actually Udham Singh who was the freedom fighter. He's the guy that came back to London and killed Sir General Michael Dwyer in Claxton House. His name was Udham Ram Singh Azad. Not Udham Singh Azad, but they've changed it to Udham Singh Ram Azad. So there's this intentional infiltration, which is political, which is stupid, because the common folk don't really care. We want the history as it is.
Yeah.
The politics of India don't allow for that.
Kind of like a revisionist sort of thing, being swayed by the current politics of India, and perhaps even it comes from the top down. So, interesting.
That aside, the movie was great. Akshay Kumar was fantastic in it. Played a great role. For me, it was. I felt really close to the characters, and I think they did that really well. All of them.
Well, I was reading that the turban that he wore in the film actually weighed about 13 pounds.
Whoa.
So he's certainly dedicated to his role, and he had to shave off all his hair in order to facilitate that. So apparently he wasn't too keen on that.
The turbans, are they bigger for protection specifically? The turbans they were wearing for soldiers in the army?
So the turbans that you see nowadays, a lot of them that are pointed similar to what was in the movie, they come from actually military. The Sikhs, prior to that, there were two types of turbans. There was what we call the Kesh, which was more of a round turban that ties around, goes right round. Then there's the Nihang style, which is the warrior style. You usually see in the color of blue that points upwards. And in the armies, when it was just uniform that everyone wore the same turban. And they started wearing these short turbans, which were really well lined. They had these lines in them, and then they had, like what we call a kalgi, but it was actually a badge of military on the turban. And then they exaggerated, because they were in some armies when they were conscripted, and when they were fighting in certain armies, they were asked to wear helmets. And Sikhs said, "These are our helmets. We've been fighting with these since the start." So they exaggerated the size to cushion the blow.
Oh,
because I had thought, I think I said during the reaction was do they have a helmet underneath the turban? And then obviously throughout the film, we found out that wasn't the case. And then people were sort of saying, I think they were saying in the comments, having it bigger though is sort of like a extra protection.
And in some ways that the turban has evolved over years, and it's sort of, there's different styles now perhaps that weren't in vogue when this was going on.
Yeah, so the turban, now a lot of people wear the stars, which is like the Canadian, I can't remember his name, Jagjit?
Jagmeet Singh, is that it? Jagmeet? The NDP guy?
NDP leader?
Or who's the other guy? We got two guys. We got two Sikhs in Canadian politics who are very prominent.
I guess I didn't really realize there's all these sort of
Jagmeet Singh and then
between the turbans though, because when we see people with turbans, they all look the same.
The turban has honor, and it represents a lot in Sikhi. But the real one of the 5 Ks is not the turban; it's the kesh, it's the uncut hair.
Oh,
so the turban is just what dresses the hair. But the real honor is in the hair.
Yeah.
So it's, I see.
I don't have it, but my father does. All my uncles do. Hopefully something I aspire to do. But it's the actual hair itself. That's one of the 5Ks. The turban can be any color. There's no strict color. But in the Nihangs, they wear blue because they believe in freedom. And some wear white because they believe it should be pure. Some wear, at funerals, you see a lot of Sikhs wearing black turbans. So there's different colors. Have like a conventional meaning, but no religious meaning.
And you know, I did know that there was different styles for tying it because during Canada Day, one of the things that you can have put on you is a turban because and for charity, and it's a really great thing that our Sikh community does. And I remember them asking me, well, do you want us to tie it this way, that way, or that way? And so they're like, I don't know, which one do you think's the best?
Oh, then so I wasn't paying attention because I think you were there sitting down, and so I didn't even hear that. I just assumed they were sort of tied in
a default manner, but no, there was a selection to be made.
Yeah, like there's ones when I think you're younger, you have like a really small one, right? But like other than that, I'm not aware. Well, I'm learning.
So we know
there's all these different ways to like tie it, and
it is the pride of the Sikhs, and actually that was a big thing in this movie Kesari is that no turbans were to be removed from the fallen soldiers, and so that was perhaps a way of honoring them as sort of worthy, more than worthy adversaries.
Yeah, unfortunately, that didn't happen. There are accounts in a place called Sandhurst in the UK, which is, if you like, the military headquarters of the British Army. And there's a document of 417 pages long about the battle, because most of the battle was found out during the battle and after the battle, right? When they went to do the cleanup, and the bodies were not respected.
Gotcha.
I won't go into what happened, but they were not.
There was a certain amount of desecration that occurred, and
it was awful.
Yeah, and I can just tell by
the spoils of war.
Yeah, no, it's so we won't get into that, but that would be an example of where the movie differed from the reality of the situation. So we've got the 21 soldiers here, and then you mentioned there's a 22nd, and so I suspect perhaps you are referring to, is it? Bai Kanhaya? I'm gonna totally get that wrong. The guy who gave water to people.
The man who was giving water.
Well, I mean, Baikiana. I mean, he wasn't
Baikiana.
the soldier. He wasn't the cook. The 22nd is the cook. So the cook also died. Yeah, I don't think he should be forgotten because.
And he wasn't even in the film, or no, he was.
You guys out.
He was in the film during the chicken part.
Wasn't he the guy who was giving water? The cook. Yeah.
Oh, it's the same person. Sorry.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So
I got confused with
the cook. Yeah, I mean the cook was he was also martyred. He was also a soldier, although he wasn't in the army because he gave himself up. He could have gone, but he chose to fight. But there was an interesting part in the film where Ashar Singh, also known as
Ashar Singh,
where he gave him the role as Bhai Kahana. Now, Bhai Kanhaya, which is a real pronunciation, he was around 1648 to 1718. So he was around the time of Guru Tegh Bahadur, which was the 9th Guru. And he was a servant of the Guru, as in like he went around with him, he listened to him, he did everything that was told. We call it a hukam. So whatever the Guru told him to do, he would do. And what he was telling him to do was mainly look after people around and make sure everyone is good. And one of the tenets of Sikhism, or Sikh even, is called the Kanhaya principles. And that's share with others, seva, the 5 weapons. As you know, the weapons are the internal thieves, we call them. They're not the 5Ks. And treat all equally and serve everyone with love and compassion without discrimination. These are the Kanhaya principles, not the same as the 3 pillars of Sikhism, which are Panchaka, Kirkar, and Namjapa, which is something else. But anyway, what happened was he, as you know in the film, the enemy was the Mughals at the time. They were fighting against Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's army, and Bhai Kanhaya was known to be giving water to the enemy and his friends. who the army he was with. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji called him and he said, bring him to me. So he didn't witness that, but he was told about it.
And actually, do you mind? I'm very interested to hear what happens.
We
here.
have to restart the camera.
We just need to restart the camera here. So we were talking about basically the water carrier, the cook who could have left, but decided to stay and actually gave water not only to the Sikh soldiers, but also to the fallen, I guess, Afghanis or the people that they were fighting against. And you were talking about how this is sort of a resonance from the past, how I think you were talking about the 10th Guru and sort of where some of this stuff came from.
Yeah,
like the origins of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so you.
Yeah. So he actually carried something called a mashak, which is a water in goat skin, which is very similar to what was in the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He basically Guruji Maharaj Guru Gobind Singh Ji heard about this incident where this gentleman who he knew very well through his father and service to his father, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, was giving water to the enemy, if you like. And he said, I heard this is happening. Is it true? And Bhai Kana said, yes, Guruji, it is true. When I give water to the Mughals or the Sikhs, I only see men. I don't see an enemy or a foe. You have taught me this yourself.
Yep.
That we're all the same. And I'm not giving water just to our heroes. I'm actually destroying my enmity within by treating all as equal. And Guru Gobind Singh's response was, you are right, you've understood the Gurbani, you've understood what we are about. This is exactly what you should be doing. Therefore, you are now, that's your mission in life, is to go and serve everyone. Wherever there's a battle, go there and give everyone water. And I've heard of the Red Cross.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Red Cross, wherever there's a war in the world, there's always a Red Cross, right? And not a lot of people know this, and I didn't know this till about 5-10 years ago, where I met a Red Cross representative in the streets of London.
Oh, wow.
And he said to me, by the way, I see your bangle, your Sikh. Do you know how we existed? I said, how is that? He said, your Guru Gobind Singh Ji, he said, when by Kanyana, and he was telling me the story. He said, when he was responding to Kanna, he drew a line of blood this way and a line of blood that way. So this is the enemy, this is the Sikh. Can you tell the difference? In the middle, they're all the same. Blood is blood. And that's where the Red Cross
comes from.
Wow.
Whoa.
Well, I always...
origins are deeply rooted in Sikhi.
Oh, that's fantastic. I always thought that, I don't know exactly what I thought, but I didn't think that.
I'm so bad at the,
really fantastic.
I'm so bad at the dates and the history. What year was Gobind Singh alive?
Would be like the 1700s.
Yeah, I should know that. I don't know his exact date. I think he died in 1708 when he was 41. He would have been 41. The Khalsa was put together in 1699, and he was born in 22nd of December 1966.
Oh my goodness! Geez, look at you go here with all the dates. I mean, getting the approximate sense of it is good for us because we're not so great with remembering the dates. So, now, fast forward, a couple hundred years here, and we've got this water carrier who's attending to the fallen men at the Battle of Saragarhi. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I say it, Saragarhi, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so that's sort of where that comes from. So that's fascinating. And then, of course, we see Ishar Singh, who I'm saying it the movie way. Ishar Singh, we see him actually saying, hey, yeah, go and do this. This is what you need to be doing right now. Mm-hmm. Sort of very much a parallel of what happened in the past. And so that's a very cool thing.
And also, so that was, but also of the present, that happened in the reality of it too, right? The cook giving the water, of course, wasn't just to the movie, of course.
Today it's obviously personified in a way of charitable work, and people that go around the world helping. But yeah, I mean, today if you go to Sri Mandir Sahib, and you sit there, you'll be served langar, regardless of your background, your religious belief or non-belief, if you, whatever you are. And it's supposed to be to do without discrimination, which is one of the pillars of Sikhi. It still should be practiced today, and I'd like to think it is.
And I think more pointedly, Alyssa was asking, in the actual event that happened, did that occur where he was giving water? But no, I like what you answered as well too, which is speaking to sort of how this is played out in present day. But
continually, like that's sort of something that we learned about the Langar and things like that, and also more of like Sikh values and things like that from the farmers' protests.
So was there a real water carrier during the battle, I guess is what we're asking.
There was a water carrier, because you can read that reference in the UNESCO report and the book that was written. I'll try and find the name of the book. There was a book that was written after Sons of Sardar by Ajay Devgan, even. He wrote a book and I'm reading this very recently in 2016, and he actually talks about the British Army picking up that water carrier, the actual where the water was, and putting it in the museum.
Wow.
So it's a museum in India.
Oh, well, that's...
Oh, wow.
I don't think it was the same as Baikonur now, but if a cook who's not trained in the army, he's going to go into battle, he's just going to perish straight away with all respect, So it was a very meaningful way to die, and to die well is better than to live, as a coward.
There's this sort of respect for humanity that that the Sikhs have, and what we also saw too was sort of respect for other faiths, other ways of being. There was a scene in the film where they actually go into the town and help build a mosque, from what I recall, and then there's a conversation. The men, I think, at first are like, "What the heck are we doing here? We're helping them build their holy site," and then they're sort of reminded of something that happened a long time ago. With a holy site for the Sikhs, where the first brick was perhaps laid by a Muslim. Is that maybe you want to speak to that a little bit, or correct me where I've been wrong here?
No, that's a good reference point. So the first thing I would say in that regard is if somebody wants to ask about the Jewish faith, they should ask a Jew. If they want to ask about Christian faith, they should ask a Christian. If they want to ask by the Hindu faith, they should ask a Hindu, and they will probably give you the right answer. But a lot of times in India, what has happened is other faiths have told Sikhs what they are, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Oh.
And what I mean by that is when Guru Nanak Dev Ji came, when he was enlightened, he wrote, there's a prayer called the Siddh Gosht. And in the Siddh Gosht, it's very, very evident. He was answering questions asked by really high pundits, as in very spiritually attained pundits, and the first thing he said is there is no na koi Musliman na koi Hindu, which means there is no such thing as Hinduism, there is no such thing as Islam. There are only men and women, and we all have one creator. In other words, you can create these divisions or these religions and faiths, but in reality, we're all just one. So it wasn't to insult a faith, but it was to bring everyone together, saying practice it how you want, but we are all one. And the Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th, stamped that by saying, we don't believe in this, we don't believe in that, we don't believe in stones. This is written in a prayer called Benti Chappe Sahib, where he says, we don't believe in stones, we don't believe in this facing this direction, we don't believe in giving water into the river. We don't believe in any organized religion. We are separate from every organized religion. There is no father religion. This is not even a religion. We only serve the creator. So a lot of people try to say, Sikhi is ours, or Sikhi is that. And I will come back to the question.
Sikhism came from Hinduism. I've seen a few Sikhs bristle when that's said.
It's absolute garbage, to put it lightly. There's literal text saying that it's got nothing to do with it. And when Guru Nanak, what happened, Sean, when Guru Nanak Dev Ji died, they put a cover on top of his body, and the Hindus wanted to bury him their way, and the Muslims wanted to bury him their way, a cremation or burial. But when they lifted the cover, there was just flowers there.
And
The flowers represent something very powerful, and the scent of a flower is the same to a Muslim as it is to a Hindu. And that was the message. It was, we don't belong to anyone. The scent is the same regardless of your faith. God is the scent. And even to this day, a lot of people, I won't say Hindus, I would just say ignorant people, because Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims live in harmony, and there's no conflict. But some people do say, oh, he was ours, he had a Hindu name, he was born in a Hindu family, and they're forgetting that Sikhism has got nothing to do with the body. It's all about the Atma, the soul. The soul has no origin, it has no religion. And ask again, my point at the beginning, ask a Sikh about Sikhism. Yeah. You would ask a Jew about Judaism. And a Sikh will say nothing to do with it. But it's great if everyone wants to claim your
if everyone's fighting over your guru to say, hey, he's closer to us in some historical or genealogical sense or something like that.
Let it be.
Yeah, let it be. And now
it's almost like sounding like it's not the way you describe Sikhism. It's not sounding like a traditional religion. It like in the ideal, like it isn't.
The ism is a westernized tick box. There's no such thing as ism in Sikhi. I mean, the first thing, as I mentioned, the first thing Guru Nanak Dev Ji said is not there is no Islam, there is no Christianity, but there is no religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are just divisions. We're a brotherhood. And the Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, serve humanity as one. And see everyone as equal. Men, women, Muslim, atheist, we're all equal. And I think there's a huge disparity, and it's gone in different almost like a river, and tributaries have gone into different directions unnecessarily, and it's become political, and certain groups saying, "Oh, this is ours and this is ours," and the real Sikhs they just laugh at it and think, claim what you want, but it doesn't change the truth, and the truth is that remains unchanged. That's the definition of truth, and the definition of truth is there is no such thing as religion when it comes to Sikhs. And another thing I've realized in my life is when I meet somebody who is very spiritual, when I meet them, they don't care about religion. So a spiritual Hindu and a spiritual Muslim, they don't care about religion. They have a oneness, almost a unity. Yeah. They laugh at these people that squabble of these man-made things.
Yeah. As I understand it, one way of saying someone's enlightened is that they do resonate with that oneness at a very high level. And so...
Yeah, I really like that. I really resonate with that. Almost like it's more of sort of a way of life. Like it's not this club, this religion of we follow these rules and we like, I don't know.
It's a removing of all those constraints and barriers.
And there's no like trying to like convert people. Like you have to come on our team and this is the way. And you know, there's a lot of different religions that are knocking on your door and trying to like recruit you. I hate to say it, but I kind of wish that maybe the Sikhs did that a little bit more, because I think it's a faith that if more people knew about, they would get on board and start serving Langar and so I've actually had a couple of Sikh individuals say to me, maybe privately, it's like maybe that's an area, not that that the Sikhs should be out there proselytizing, but that they haven't really spread their word because as far as they could have because of, I don't know. I think you hear what I'm trying to say here. I don't know. I
think what Sikhi is one of the newest religions. There are 4,235 registered religions in the world, right? Oh. What defines a religion? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But Sikhi is one of the newest, and it's the fifth biggest, right? And I think, it's only been around since 1699, when the Khalsa was formed. It's not very old.
Yeah.
But one thing that cannot be done in Sikh is you cannot convert. You can't convert you can't say today I'm Sikh. You can only live by the principles of Sikh, and you don't have to be a Sikh to live by them principles. Yeah. Otherwise, one can argue, and everything should stand its ground against, questions. If it can't stand its ground, it falls. And Sikh it's clear that even before Sikhs, people were living with the principles of Sikhi.
Yeah,
they didn't have the five chakras, and there's no deferred glory. There's no you do this and suffer in this life, and you'll see paradise.
Sure,
next.
Yeah.
Paradise is now for Sikhs, and this paradise comes from serving others, giving water to your enemy. It's that presence. It's not deferred to a later stage, and it's very practical, earthly way of life and way of living.
Well,
we're saying it wrong too. You're saying the ism is more of
a Western sort of
type
way of
thing.
describing things.
Are you saying Sikhi?
Sikhi.
Yeah, I personally don't say Sikhism. I say Sikhi, and it's not. It's just terminology for some, but for me, it's not Sikh. It's Sikh.
Sikh. We heard that in one of the videos.
I think it's actually important to if one understands. I mean, everyone can say their daddy's the strongest. Everyone says my faith is the best.
Yeah.
But when the closest thing to Sikhi is actually an agnostic, and the reason is because they say we don't know if Sikhs say we don't know how big God is. We don't know who God is.
Wow.
We don't know how great God is. We don't know how big the universe is.
Yeah.
Rather than saying we know it, living in the ignorance is infinite, and there's glory in that. And even in the Greek philosophers said, "I know more when I know less." And a Sikhi is that humility of saying, "Actually, we don't know. We're going to praise whatever it is because it's amazing. But we're never going to say we know what it is."
Sure,
I like
and
that.
I think therefore it becomes a humane understanding of the universe, an agnostic, a questioning it, and understanding it from your own personal belief and vision. And one of the first things a Sikh has done when they are born is they are told, and through a certain prayer, that you don't belong. They're told you belong to the universe. The first thing you are told is you belong to the universe, not you belong to India or you belong to Sikhi, or it's you belong to the universe. That's Ik. And we call it Ik Oankar, which is the first word in the Guru Granth Sahib, which means Ik Oankar, which is the sound of the Big Bang. Ik Oankar.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's
really interesting.
And one of the things you said earlier, it's sort of like you don't sort of convert. I guess for me, it's just I feel so blessed to have heard the teachings of the Guru and to be learning about it, and I've sort of stumbled into this in a very roundabout kind of way, and I'm so glad I did. But I just feel like there's a lot of people in the world that could use a knock on the door and open it up and say, "Have you heard of the Gurus before?" And to learn more about the Gurus.
For me, that would just sort of put me up. Like, I would just be like, okay, here, we don't need the preaching. Like,
well, there is something called prachar, which is where you tell people about the Sikh faith. But again,
you don't try to convert them.
Learners, how can a learner become a teacher? The thing is that the things in the Japji, in the Sikh Holy Book, there are four, if you like, the four corners of the Guru Granth Sahib, which is Sunnana, Kehna, Manna, Kanna, right? Which is first you hear it, first you hear about the Guru, and then you start thinking about the Guru, and then you start doing what the Guru says, and then you live within the will of the Guru. When I say Guru, I'm not talking about the 10 people that lived. The word Guru actually means guru, which means darkness dispelled by light.
Yes, we've heard that.
Darkness dispels light, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Dispelled by light.
Oh, dispelled by light.
Yeah,
okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, we'd seen a few, definitions of that along those lines. That
and the word Gurudwara means it's actually Gurudwara, which is Guru, the gateway to the Guru. Dwara is door. Guru, so Gurudwara. So people can go around, and honestly, and they do. People go around. In London, we've got something called Speaker's Corner.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, where you can literally say anything you want and nobody is allowed to touch you.
That's cool.
But they are allowed to hit you with a bow and arrow, apparently.
I hadn't seen that on YouTube. I'd watched a few clips, but I had no bows and arrows. I don't know.
Oh, it's crazy. There's some crazy laws in the UK. But if you talk about Sikhi, you quickly understand that you no longer are talking about a religion. You're just talking about being good. And there's obviously deeper layers to that, but the principle, Van Chakna, Nam Karna, Nam Chapana, Kirt Karo, is earn an honest living, like live an honest life, right? Keep your conscience clear. The Nam Japo, remember God in the way you perceive God to be. In other words, your own soul. And Van Chakna is help others, give more than you take. That doesn't have to be money. That doesn't have to be, it could be love. It could be, give 10% of your time to someone. These three principles are not exclusive to Sikhs. They're just exclusive to good people.
Sure.
So there's no conversion. The whole thing about a Sikh becoming, taking Amrit, which is a big thing.
It's sort of like a sugared water or a holy beverage of sorts.
Tea?
Or
Is it tea or something?
Yeah, so I'm going to dispel a bit of a myth here.
Okay.
That's not Amrit. Amrit is Amrit Shabbat. The Amrit is in the Guru. The Amrit is God. God is the Amrit. What we're referring to there is Khandadipur, which is where Guru Gobind Singh Ji initiated the Khalsa. You become a part of the Khalsa, and the Khalsa is an army, which is where you have given your life to the goodness of humanity. So wherever you see somebody in trouble, you help them. You have to help them.
Yeah.
If you see somebody, who's hungry and you're eating, you have to give your food.
Yeah.
It's being a part of the wider good. And then you get something called a Kirpan, which you may have heard of.
Yeah.
So the word Kirpan is split into two words, which is Kirpaan, which is to bless others with your sacrifice. So there's no such thing as conversion. If you take Amrit, I keep doing this because it's so misunderstanding.
Yeah.
If you take Amrit is actually the nectar from Waheguru, the God. That's the Amrit. Khandadipur is where you are initiated, and you take the water, which is spun in a Kirpan, because you have become one of the Khalsa army. And there are a lot of people who wear the swords.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who shouldn't be wearing the swords that wear the swords. Yeah.
Well,
because if I'll give you an example. I fought a few war battles myself. So we did something called a protest for 100 days outside Downing Street.
Oh, wow.
About 3-4 years ago. And me and a few of the guys, and we stayed there, we slept there, we lived there basically.
Wow.
Wow.
And at one point, the EDL were coming, the English Defence League, to protest.
Yep.
Yeah. And they protest. And we said, okay, look, we got this tent set up. We need to defend it. It's like a mini battle, mini Saragarhi, but
wow.
Like that. But anyway, so about 8 lads came together. Most of them ran off. And we stood there with our fists, and fortunately nothing happened. A few racist chants, but nothing major happened. But I said on camera to the Sikh network, I said, "You're all busy at home cleaning your swords. You're all wiping your swords clean, but when it comes to it, you're not here."
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't practice that, and it's actually a sin not to practice what Sikhi. It's a sin. So they have to be battle ready. That's what real Sikh is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to probably stop you there for a second so we can, I think this just might be a good transition point.
Time to switch over.
We've been talking a lot about sort of what makes a Sikh, sort of their relationship to the world and other faiths. And there's a scene in the movie in Kesari where the soldiers go into one of the villages and they actually help to build a mosque.
Yeah.
And they don't seem too pleased with this. They're kind of like, what the heck are we doing here? And they're reminded of some of the history here. The first brick of Sri Harnaminder Sahib.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harmandir Sahib. Yeah. So the first brick now. So there's a couple of things to mention about that. The first one being it's not entirely true. So there's things in the Sikh faith which have also been diverted into. Not so much make believe, but they've really played on the mythology and the meaning. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji laid the first brick, right, and that was in 1645. And what happened was, so the if you imagine that's the level of where he was sat, he meant and as there was a hierarchy system of certain faiths at the time where different castes were allowed to be higher than the other, and all this. It still takes place in India now. And he actually got someone to dig a hole and laid the first brick below the ground level. So he said, even the lowest person, according to you, has to now go down. So we all have to go down. So we're all equal. It was laid by him. It was actually way later. I'm talking, 1883, where Gyan Santokh Singh wrote in his book that it was put down by a Muslim called Main Mana, which was not true. Now, he did exist. There was a lot of conflict between Mughals and Sikhs then, as you know, in the wars. And when Guru Arjan Dev Ji, just before he was martyred, when I don't know if you know the story about how he was martyred.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Alyssa. I don't. She hasn't maybe heard that story yet, but it's absolutely brutal. And and then his son is Haro Gobind Dev Ji. Is that how you'd say it?
Yeah, Har Gobind Singh Ji. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but so there was obviously that conflict, which is when Guru Arjan Dev Ji, who was boiled alive. But his son. That's why Sikhs picked up the arms because they says we're not passive faith. We should give our lives openly. And anyway, he laid the first brick. So there was a political element of that when Shri Mandir Sahib was being all designed after Maharaj and Jeet Singh, and all the gold was going on, and the 4 doors to be open to all faiths, and all of them going into one single center point, which is the abode of God, where it was written by Santokh Singh in 1883, who also wrote about him, Kund Sahib, that the first brick was laid by a Muslim to say it's open to all of you. It's not a religion of just one. It's not a religion. It's just we're all the same. It's not. I mean, there are debates about it. There is conflicts, but there's Kaminder Singh Dillo, who's from Boston, who's done a PhD in the history of Srimandir Sahib, and he's found references that it was actually Guru Arjan Dev Ji who laid the first brick. But the reference in the story is a reference to the openness of Sikhi, that anyone from any faith can be a part of this non-faith. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji had his two best friends, Madana and Lala. One was a Muslim, one was a Hindu.
Wow.
The guys that, because I think it was the Muslim that played the music.
That's right.
And so that's very cool. And now, of course, my computer just died here. I'm just going to plug it back in. Just give me one. We've been talking around, I guess, in many ways, the men that were martyred during that battle. And there's a very sort of striking scene towards the end where you have the one individual, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, who's on fire and he's walking towards the crowd of men. I was looking to get some of your thoughts on that.
I'm sure you guys had goosebumps when you saw that, because I certainly did, right? So there are some really interesting reference points in that. So I mentioned before, there's a headquarters of the British Army, or one of the headquarters of the Ministry of Defence is Sandhurst. And there's the Sikh regiment still continues to this day. There's actually a Sikh regiment in the British Army. They have a huge, what do you call them, stained glass window in Sandhurst of Sepoy, of the Sepoy. He's actually, remember, not in a picture, in a massive stained glass window.
Wow.
And they've got a recording of his last communication.
Oh, wow.
And if you go to Sandhurst, it's for a soldier, well, for me anyway, and any soldier, I told this to my next door neighbor who's ex-bomb disposal.
So were you in the military then?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Right. But I know a lot of people who were, and my next neighbor, who I always broke because he was a real soldier, hands down. He's retired now. I mentioned this to him, and he said, that means a lot to a soldier. And what I said to him was this: I said, the Sepoy at the end of the battle, he was communicating with Lockhart and communicating with Gulistan. His last message was, "Can I now pack my things? Do you need me of service? Or can I serve here?" He asked for permission. Wow. This is a 19-year-old kid, He asked for permission. In other words, he was still seeking a command. He didn't give himself to his emotions and just go out fight. He's still being a professional soldier. And that for a soldier is huge.
Absolutely.
Because he may have been used elsewhere, because it's a very skilled job to be a heliographist or whatever. And I can't remember the name of the commander. But he said, no, you can, the choice is yours. And then he wrote back saying, I will pack my things and I'm going to, sacrifice myself. And he packed his stuff and he actually wiped it, his leather briefcase. This is all written down.
Whoa.
He wiped it, packed it up. He was in this tower, and then he put his musket on and he went out and he killed 20 people when he went out.
Wow.
And then it was said he killed another 26 after that. So it's 46 people, 19-year-old kid killed. Imagine like 8,900 people. So 680 Afghans died.
Wow.
Before him.
How many?
Now you got 9,000.
687.
687. It's really unfathomable. But I have heard that throughout history, one Sikh warrior is equal to many other warriors from other tribes or other nations, and this has been something that has been consistent through history, and now we're seeing it in a more, I guess, modern context, even though it was over 100 years ago.
Yeah, but we call that Savalak. That comes from the Battle of Jamkor Sahib, where there was 40 Sikhs, Charlie Mukte, we call them, the 40 liberated ones, fought against similar thing. There was 40 then, against the Mughal Empire. But when this guy did die, there were two cries of Jo Bole Sonia, Sri Kal. He cried that twice because they heard him. You just imagine standing at Gulistan, hearing this 19-year-old boy shriek this war cry, saying, who is great? The greatest is
I just got shivers now.
I stand and I will sacrifice myself. It's amazing. I know 19-year-olds now, and me included, who, haven't got even an ounce of that spirit.
Yeah.
Even a morsel.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of respect went to him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, like that whole depiction pretty much is all sort of word for word how it happened pretty much, or frame by frame kind of thing, like when he's coming out of the tower, like on fire and everything, like basically like not really making a sound
is that something that then was more of a historical thing, was that they actually did light him ablaze, or
he was in
that
the tower?
They say in the record at Sandhurst, again, you can see the record of the battle, and it's a great memorial to go and see. You might be able to get the archives online. It says the 47 people he killed. So the 27 he killed after hand-to-hand battle with 20. So the 27 afterwards. Apparently he was set on fire as he was killing the first 20. And as he was set on fire, he got a lot of the grenades.
Yeah.
And he held them to his chest and ran into the crowd.
Yeah.
And as he ran and as he jumped, he shouted "Bole Sonihal," and that's how he finished. They couldn't find his body. I think he was one of the only ones they couldn't find his body.
Wow. Wow. What a martyr. So that was Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the last of the 21, and so
Gurmukh Singh is Sepoy his
rank
position.
Yeah, Sepoy perhaps a rank.
What does it mean?
Yeah, I think that's what Sepoy is. It's a ranking in the army and a profession.
So something else that happened in the movie is there was some drumming. Some music, of course, because we expect this in Indian films, but there was sort of an anthem or a song. There was almost a drum off, if you will, where the enemies were drumming and then he was drumming.
Was that to begin?
Yeah, I think that was before the battle even started, if I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was very meaningful because the drum beats, I mean, he obviously put the other guys off, and that happened. There were drums there, and the Sikhs would always carry the Gurkha, which is the Shri Guru Granth Sahib, in a concise format, usually just consisting of the Nitnem, which are certain prayers. And they will carry the sword and the armory, and they will always have a drum when it goes to battle. That drum is called a Nagara, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji created this drum. A lot of armies have it. Even if you go to the British Army and you go to Buckingham Palace, they're still beating drums to this day. And it's not a war cry, but it's a battle cry. In Sikhi, we call it Gagan Damana Bajyo, which is beat the drums like the thunder beats the skies. So you're getting ready for battle.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Maharaj Ranjit Singh used it a lot. It's called the drum of victory. It's a really big drum. It's about 5 feet wide. And
wow.
Yeah.
You bang it like this.
It looks so big. Yeah.
It's the beat of victory. Yeah. It's to really ramp up the troops and
get everyone all pumped up
about what they're doing. Also the national, I won't call it the national anthem because it's not a national anthem. It's the Sikh anthem that they refer to, and it's the background. The really gentle song that comes on in the background. I don't know if you remember it throughout the film when he says "De Shiva Mohan Hey Arsikna." And there's this, I think it's a girl she's singing it. It becomes really somber and the mood, and it's this song. That is actually, that was compiled by Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So it's actually the Sikh anthem. So it wasn't just a song, it was to live with courage and to the highest level uphold righteousness. So even at the highest level, you have to be righteous. You have to do the right thing. Yeah. Even at death, you have to still do the right thing. So I can read the translation out for you if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fantastic.
It's very quick. It's only 4 lines, and I'm going to read this. The translation is, "Dear God, grant my request so that I may never deviate from doing good deeds, that I shall still have no fear of the enemy when I go into the battle, and with determination I will be victorious, that I may teach my mind to only sing your praises, and when the time comes, I should die fighting heroically in the field of battle." So it's about dying well.
Yep.
But when you're dying, you still do the right thing.
Absolutely.
So that's why that song was resonating in the background throughout the movie.
That's
which is
a great sort of mantra if you're going to be sort of remembering something and have something being reinforced in your mind. And that's a very uplifting, and it sort of reminds you of what you should be doing as a person, as a good person. So, I like that a whole lot.
Well, it refers to, when they went to build the mosque, they were doing that.
Yep.
That's exactly what practicing what they preached in that sense. Upholding righteousness.
There's so much more to learn here, and so much wisdom to sort of sink our teeth into. So as we sort of wrap up here, we're talking about Kesari the movie. We're talking about Kesari the real life incident. What makes we're talking about the Sikhi. Do we want
Sikh?
Oh, yeah, and Sikh. And I think just the reason we don't call them Sikhs is probably just because the word is so similar to the English word sick. And I'm assuming that's probably why, at least in our region, we refer to them as Sikh.
Which is an interesting word, though, because it has multiple meanings. Like it does mean like someone who's ill, but it also means like cool or sweet, too. You'd be like, oh, that's a sick song,
true.
Bro. Like
that's true.
It's interesting.
But it also means seek, doesn't it?
Yeah. That too. Sikh. It's
So I think my conclusion would be to everyone be peaceful, live in harmony. It's a very, very generic term, but don't let these man-made religions get in the way. We're all brothers and sisters, and if you want to know about Sikhi, ask a Sikh.
There we go. Well, I think those are some good parting thoughts. And it's like you're right on time here, because we've got about a minute and a half left here. So that's going to work out just perfectly. We really appreciate you spending your time with us, my friend. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Totally.
And I can tell that we've got that. This is sort of the tip of the iceberg here. We've got a lot more conversations to be had, a lot more to learn about one another. And so, and if people want to find your channel, how would they do that? Or how would they connect with you? There might be a few people.
If they want to, and I'm going to try and get you guys to do a reaction video with me.
Yeah.
All Punjabi music. But if they want to find me, it's Hawksmere. I don't know if there'll be a link somewhere, but
we can certainly put that in the description. Thank you.
Great, yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Aman. We really appreciate it a whole lot. We will see you again. And if you guys would maybe like to see us.
I think the camera actually might shut off.
Okay, I'll do it.
We can just do the intro after.
Well, I'll do it real quick. I'll say if you guys.
Well, I think it might literally be on its last second.
I'm just going to keep rolling, because if it turns off, then it turns off in the middle of my wonderful outro here.